Hey followers, this is your boy, Movie Maker Doug55. Today I'm with my coach and mentor, actor Andy McPhee, and today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Janet Zipper, and she's involved in a bunch of great causes, and we're going to let her share those causes and her life story today. Welcome, Janet.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. Excited
Yeah,
to be
thanks,
here.
Janet. Appreciate it. You know, thanks for taking the time. And you're based in Los Angeles, aren't you?
Yes, I'm in Los Angeles. Yep, the beautiful city of Los Angeles.
Awesome. Me too. I'm in Studio City, and Doug's in Arizona. Correct, Doug? You're still there, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I'm in Phoenix.
Okay, awesome. All right, Doug. Well, look, let's get into the interview, and you can lead away with your first question for Janet.
For sure. Let's get this party started. Alrighty. So, Janet, you are an incredible guest from what I've looked up about you. And I must ask, where are you originally from and how did you get to where you are today?
Well, I'm originally was born and raised in California, and I moved to the East Coast, and I was there for 20 years. And I got involved with the entertainment industry. I became a life coach, a speaker, and I do my own radio show, Embrace Your Power show on iHeartRadio, as well as I have a show called Jay-Z TV Live where I was doing red carpet interviews before COVID. And I also wrote a book. I'm an author as well called Embrace Your Power. And my brand is Embrace Your Power. And that's what I like to do. I like to teach people to embrace their power. I just got crowned Miss Elite California by Women of Achievement. And I also belong to the Global Society of Female Entrepreneurs as well.
That's
great.
That's incredible. Wow, you must have busy days the minute you're out of bed in the morning.
Yeah, I'd say.
Yeah, wow. So, Janet, just a question. What do you, can you just give us a little bit more of a view of, the things that you do? What's one of the most important and passionate, projects that you're involved in currently?
Well, for me, it's empowering women. My platform is domestic violence, and also, I also do things with sex trafficking as well. So to me, it's really important to get the word out there, not just for women to, empower them, but ultimately what I want to do is I want to have a program to teach young men, what it is that they need to learn in order how to treat women as well, because that's not taught as well. And a lot of times, people don't know how to treat other people, and they need to be taught how to do that.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's fantastic. And you're right, that is missing. That is missing a lot. I mean, it always has been. It's nothing new, right? It's just something that, occurs. But what's happening now is there are a lot more people out there, coaches like yourself, and really getting people to understand that, listening to other people and dealing with your past is really important, because a lot of the way we act is because of something that's happened to us. And obviously, what you're dealing with especially domestic violence, I'm sure you see a lot of women in those circumstances feel that life just comes to a stop. They don't know which way to turn, what to do. And how do you approach that? How do you help women in those type of circumstances,
Well, the first thing that I see when I do coach somebody is I try to get a little history of their past, and to see what it is that they're going through, and when did that start? Like, what was it? Was there an event? Was it something like bullying? Or, a lot of times, like, I run into people that are like middle child syndrome, where they were invisible kind of. And so as they got older, that impacted them. So there's so many different variables that you really have to, each person is individual. Each person has a story. I'll tell you that much. Yeah. Each person has a story. Everyone's story is different, but everyone's story leads to where they are today. So if you can get to where the story started and help them change their story of how they view themselves, of how they're living their life, that they do have the power to create their life and change their life, that's when you start seeing change.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
yeah, and I've made a lot of changes to my life this year with the willpower that I have. Like earlier this year, I gave up my longtime addiction to soda. And ever since then, I've dropped from 310 pounds to now 220 some, or 210, somewhere in that area.
That's incredible. You know, that's so great, because you know what, that's inspiring to others. When people hear that, it's inspiring to them that, you know, that's just one little thing you can change. You know, a lot of people too, they think like, oh my God, I have to make all these changes. No, you know, it's one step at a time. If that's all you can handle, like me, I'm the kind of person, I can take a couple things and work on them at once. There are people that, you know, one little step at a time is just a big deal for them, and if that's all you can do, that's all you can do.
Yeah, that's really true, and that's what how this series started with Doug. I started working with Doug, coaching him about 5 years ago now, maybe a bit longer, and Doug was already doing incredible things. He'd written many books by then, but the journey we've been on together since then, it's incredible. Like, it really is. He's just grown. Like, he's written more books. His books are now, you know, selling well on Amazon. They're actually being published. He got notified the other day by Amazon. They're actually going hard copy now and into stores around America. But I'll let Doug share a little bit of that in a second. But his journey is amazing. His weight loss. We're starting a podcast. We're starting, one of these interviews on here, following his journey of his weight loss, his fitness training. Because I said at the end of it, Doug, it's like everything, you will inspire someone. You'll inspire more, you know, anyone else dealing with high functioning autism who feel that, you know, sometimes things can be a struggle to fit into the workplace. Well, Doug is hoping to build his own business at home, and we only just got told, well, I got told yesterday by his mum, or not told, she actually shared it with me and asked my opinion. And his mum is a highly trained psychologist works in, you know, that area. And she said, we're thinking about having Doug do a course where he will be trained as a mentor and coach in mental health, which would be amazing for a young man with, you know, high functioning autism. So that's something that he never dreamed of. But Doug, just share a little bit about your books and what they're doing and what your books are about.
Yeah, I've written like I've published 7 books, and Andy and I are working on my 8th one at the moment.
Wow.
And my first one was in 2013 when I was in high school. I wrote about my journey with autism. It was a tabloid story about my elementary school education. And it was a good book at a particular time, but it wasn't successful yet because, you know, you have to build your career up before you really get noticed. And then about a couple years later, I wrote my first screenplay, Mose and the Great Escape, which is based on the biblical story of Moses. And this year I wrote a sequel, Ray Guns and Chronos, War on Claudiusville. And I also wrote a children's book.
Oh, sorry, Doug. Can you just share your book, the one that's doing really well on Amazon at the moment, the Parks and the Journey of an Autistic Spokesperson?
Sure. This is my most successful work of literature by far. From Green Flags to Blue Flags 2, The Amazing Comeback of an Autistic Spokesperson, which documents a rough patch that I went through in my high school education and how I started enjoying my life again after recovering from depression. And this is my first ever children's book, Enter the Parks, which documents my national park travels. And this,
yeah, that's amazing, Doug. It's awesome, and I think his books are now being, as I said, published hardcover. Some are in schools. So, Janet, can you just explain? Thanks for that, Doug. Can you let us know your book that you wrote? What was that about, Janet?
Sure. So my book is called Embrace Your Power. It's inspirational, motivational quotes to inspire you. What happened was I started on Facebook about 10 years ago, and I started posting motivational posts. And as I did this, I had an audience that grew. I started my own page, and it grew exponentially. Next thing you know, people started asking me, hey, you posted something the other day. Now I can't find it. Can you send it to me? And so, I went through and I found the quote and I sent it to them. It started happening so frequently. And then everybody kept saying, I wish I had a book that had these quotes because they're so good. So what I did after a couple of years of people telling me this and on and on and on, I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do it. Well, it took me like a year. I went through all of my posts on Facebook, on Instagram. I found all the ones that everybody was like, a lot of comments or people were asking questions or this really helped me. I really needed to hear this. Thank you. And, I really, just used like that whole year of talking to people and finding out what really was a good thing. So that's how I wrote my book.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, and a lot of the quotes I'm sure that you share is like, I do quite a bit of that, not as intensely, but it's funny you mention it because I've already started doing that again now. But the quotes generally are coming from other people, right? And you're posting that. But the thing is, most people don't really have time and to go searching. They prefer just to open up their social media and see something, so it's easier for them, or a book or something like that. Right. That's great. So here's a question, Janet. How did all this start? Where did this journey of you doing all these amazing things you're doing now? Like Doug shared his journey of, in series 1 of being bullied at school because of his autism and being overweight, to what he's doing now, which is, it's incredible, and it's the same with you. So where did it all start for you? Where, what was the cause and where was the turnaround point?
Well, when I was younger, I've always been the kind of person that people come to advice, and I've always was outgoing and everything, but I ended up marrying, I got bullied when I was younger because I'm little, I'm petite, I'm 4'11", and I was always the little one in my class. I got bullied a lot, and so my self-esteem kind of went down a little bit. And then by the time I got to high school, I wasn't growing anymore. Everybody else was growing for me. So I felt a little, insecure about myself. And then I ended up, meeting somebody, and I ended up marrying him. And I didn't realize that this person was brought up in a very dysfunctional home and was abusive. So I married him, and I married an abuser. He was alcoholic, abusive, something that I was totally not even brought up with. I mean, I was brought up, we didn't even have alcohol in the house, So it was a totally different lifestyle. So on my journey of going through that, after I came out of that divorce, I was a very broken person. I had no self-esteem. I didn't even know who I was. I had to go out and rediscover who I was, and I threw myself into therapy. And after I finished therapy, everywhere that I've ever worked, people always come to me and said, hey, you know what, I need some advice. Can you give me advice? And one day I had my manager tell me, Janet, you really should start charging these people. And, people would always come to me. So then I said, I'm going to, even though I started doing life coaching myself, I said, I'm going to throw myself into a course. So I found a course online, and that was almost a year long. And I just said, I need to fine tune my skills. So I started doing life coaching. And then that led me to having a radio show. I actually got involved with a woman who asked me to be on her radio show as the life coach for the show. So I was on her show for a couple of months, and then everybody kept saying, you should have your own show. So I didn't know anything about radio, how to do a podcast, anything. So, I was helped by a couple of different people, including the woman who had originally invited me. And then it grew from there. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you know what's really good, what you just said then, is that lady who invited you to her show had no issues about helping you start your own. That's where life changes. When people go, no, that's great, go do your own show, instead of like, what sometimes people do, they don't want to talk to you, then they don't want to help you. That's
Right.
awesome that she did that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And it's funny how you keep mentioning the same thing, what I heard then. And because I wouldn't say my forte is life coaching, but coaching actors, it's turned into actors, coaching / life coaching, mentoring, support. So I guess it is all in that same circle,
Yeah.
But the thing that you just said then was really interesting, was a lot of your breakthroughs have come by people coming to you going, hey, I can't find that post that you put on Facebook. Hey, you need to write a book, or you need to do something. And then you did the radio show. Oh, you should have your own show. And it's that same journey. People going like, you're in that world of like, oh, this is great. But sometimes we don't see the effect we're having on others. And it takes someone to go up and go, you know what? It's time you started charging for this, time you wrote your own book, time you start, and you went, oh, wow. That's when you realize the effect that you're having.
Yeah, there was times actually when I would actually cry when I read people's posts. And it was from men and women too, not just women.
Yeah.
I actually, my son ran analytics, and I actually have half of my followers, half of my people who actually follow my posts are men, and the other half are women.
Wow.
So, it's very interesting, because at first I thought it was mostly women, but no, because everyone needs to hear stuff. And then what I do is different. A lot of people post something and they just post a quote. They'll just say something about it. I actually, when I post something, I actually teach somebody. I break things down, and it's a little longer, but my posts are being shared all the time. My Facebook page, it's called If You Don't Like It, Change It. I've probably averaged around 20,000 views of my posts a month. And I don't even do anything. I don't advertise. It's all organic. People share my posts every day. And the same thing, with Instagram, people reach out to me all the time. And so, to me, if I'm helping somebody, that to me, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And my passion and mission in life is to help, to empower, to help people change, to see that, you know what, you too have that power to change. You can embrace your power to become the amazing person you're meant to be.
And look, that's another point. And sorry, Doug, I'm not, it's just I want to stay on this track for a minute while we're talking with us about the coaching. What you said is very important. Like when I post a motivational quote to anyone, I'll always put underneath it how that's affected me in my life. Like, so it's not just a quote, because sometimes quotes can just be entertainment, like watching a movie. That was a great movie. Then you go home, it's like, yeah, it was good. Then you forget about it. And sometimes that's what, quotes or things like that can just be purely entertainment. But when you add something underneath how that quote's worked in your life, that's when it affects other people.
Yeah, absolutely true. They can relate to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Doug, I'm sure you've got some questions there for Janet, because she's got an amazing story.
Yeah, I must ask, what struggles did you overcome to get to where you are after your divorce?
Well, I had a lot of self-esteem issues, self-worth issues, and I didn't know what my value was, because somebody beat me down verbally for so many years. I really thought I didn't matter. So overcoming those struggles was not easy. And one of the things that I always tell people is that if I didn't go to therapy, if I didn't go to counseling, I actually went to 3 different therapists before I found the right one. So I always tell people, if you go to one, it's just like finding a good doctor. Sometimes you have to go and look, and it takes time, and it is a struggle. And sometimes you could get discouraged because you're thinking, oh my God, I can't find the right person. But you know what, you have to keep going. And one of the things that I also recommend is that, when you're going through struggles, it's so important to have a support group. And that's what I did. I reached out to other women who had been abused. My coach, I got a coach, and a mentor. And so I had a coach and a mentor. I had a therapist. I was, belonging to a support group of women. And so, I wanted to make sure that I didn't want to go back and have that same struggle again. I didn't want to find myself in the same predicament, because you know what? A lot of times when people go through troubles or stuff, they find themselves again a couple of years later in the same situation again, because nothing changed. They didn't change the way that they thought, what they were doing. They still attracting the same kind of people into their lives. So, and then that struggle becomes another struggle, and there's no end, and history repeats itself because there's nothing to change.
Yeah, that's so true. That's exactly right. The vicious cycle of circles. Like something happened in the past and it's not happening anymore, but they live in that story of like, oh, and then anyone else you meet or any circumstance that comes up, this thing that happened will rise up again, and it will cause whatever it's going to cause, and that's when those patterns just keep repeating. And it's obviously you can't solve all that here on this 20-minute program, but you're exactly right. You got to have help and support. You can't do it by yourself. And coaches can't do it by themselves. They have coaches to coach them.
That's right.
And just to add to the conversation, one of the reasons that my rough spot a few years back was so rough was I didn't seek help even when I needed it, and neither did the people around me. It just, I didn't get therapy until it was almost too late.
Yeah, and that's true, Doug. And how did you step over that, Doug, to get past that briefly?
I stepped over it. First of all, when I finally got myself some help, my mom basically signed me up for a yoga class, and the yoga did help me relieve some of the stress that I was going through, but it didn't quite solve everything.
Oh, of course not.
When I had my rough year in 2016, for a period of time, I turned to sugar and soda to make me feel better. But then I started training under Andy McPhee, like we advanced our sessions. And when I started training under Andy, I began working to try to get myself off of my sugar addiction. And it took some time, but finally this year, I was able to do so after my addiction got bad to the point that I was having restless nights. And that finally pushed me into finally giving it up. And that's
what Janet said before. Like, some people can do two things at once and some can't. And when you take that step of just dealing with one thing, then that will lead to something else, which what you just shared, Doug, is you've lost nearly 100 pounds now. You're aiming to lose another 40 pounds, and you're walking every day and you're training at the gym. I've sent diets to Doug from some of my friends. One of my friends we've interviewed on here is a world-class jiu-jitsu champion and fitness coach. So Doug's now taken that whole world on, and now we're going to start sharing that. So it's amazing how you just do one little change, but it opens up this whole new world. Like, Doug would never have 5 years ago thought he's going to be talking about health and fitness on a YouTube program. So, and I'm sure, Janet, that's the same with you. You've opened up into other areas you never would have thought you were going to be involved in,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Janet, we'd really love to invite you to join this group that I was invited to in West Ghana, Country Code of Ghana, who are it is really highly based around women, but also social issues in Ghana, West Ghana, like health, sanitation, education. Their main aim at the moment is to get their feature film up, and it is empowering women's stories in the workplace of harassment. And, this Sophia, who this really happened to, her loss of job, income, self-esteem. And so now the group invited myself on, and then I've invited other people on who I feel that can just offer some sort of support, because they need support, because, yes, they've made a short film, but they're reaching out exactly what you said, to have a support group. And I've added to that support group with things that I can't help with because it's not my area. So I'd love you to come on that group and just see just see what you can offer for them,
Yeah, that would be great. Well, I always say this, whenever I have done something, I network with people, and I'm actually known as a connector. I connect a lot of people. So, even though it has nothing to do with me, I help others. I have this model that I love that I read years ago. We rise by lifting others. So, and that's my thing that I do. I might not be able to directly be involved with something, but I might know somebody who I can connect you with who can help you.
Yeah.
So, and that's how things happen. If we all were to help each other and do that instead of saying, oh no, I can't share my information because, you might take it from me,
Yeah.
So it's so important to do that.
Yeah. And that's what that lady did on the radio program. She was a stand to help you do your own. She didn't make it about like, oh, but I helped you and I've done. She just went, no, that's awesome. I'll help you build it up. That's how the circle changes and how you spread that support to other people as well. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Doug, do you have any final questions for Janet before we conclude?
I have one more. What are your plans for the future as far as strange times like COVID?
Well, for me, I've had to adjust everything that I do. So what I'm doing now, because I can't have workshops anymore, and I can't do, speaking in front of people. So what I'm doing right now is I'm currently developing a webinar. I'm going to be doing webinars to help people, teach people. So that's a really important thing because a lot of people need that. So, eventually I'll do speaking engagements again. I'm going to be focusing on different things. But one of the big things that I focus on is self-esteem, self-worth, and value, because that starts everything. Because if you don't know who you are, you don't love yourself, you don't have a plan for your life, it's going to impact your life. So you have to start dealing with their self issues and then deal with other things,
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, thanks, Janet. That's fantastic, and really, what a great story. And I'll connect up with you for the Country Code of Ghana story as well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
All righty.
I'd love to connect with people that might be interested in helping us out in the GoFundMe and the project. That'd be great.
Yeah, whatever I can do, however I can help.
All right. Well, thanks, Janet, and appreciate your time. And Doug, thanks again for being here and creating this together. We're all helping each other. So anyway, Janet, thank you. And Doug, thanks again. And I'll let you take us out.
No problem. I want to thank both Janet and Andy for appearing on the program. And whenever you have a chance, please check out my book, Enter the Parks, a children's book on national parks, which is on Amazon. And I want to thank both of you for coming on board the channel. Please follow my followers, all of their social media profiles. And we'll see you next time on Being Relentless and Unstoppable.